This is 19-year-old Nikolas trying to fake insanity to reduce his sentence. However, if he makes one wrong move, he could face life behind bars. On Valentine's Day 2018, Nikolas Cruz entered his high school and committed one of the most horrifying acts in U.S. history, with 17 students ending up dead. An hour after fleeing the scene, he was arrested by police 2 miles away.
What's going on today, bro?
Voices. Where's the voices?
Cruz's words here are the start of an elaborate web of lies he spun to try and appear as crazy, and as he gets brought in for interrogation, it only gets worse. The cops lead him into the interrogation room and cuff him down to the floor, where his eyes are firmly set on the ground, as if he's completely disconnected from the world around him.
Just shrug those clothes in.
Notice that the first thing Cruz does the second he's left alone is check for cameras. The second he realizes he's being recorded, he does this. Alongside making these gestures, he also punches himself in the face and sits with his head hung. While some may believe he's just overwhelmed, it's more likely this was his first act for attention. Given how much his demeanor and behavior have changed in these first few minutes, it's clear that Cruz believes that if he can display enough abnormal traits, he may be able to convince a jury he's insane, catching a reduced sentence.
All right, how you doing, Nick? You all right? Gotta be able to speak so I can hear you. All right, I just need to ask you really your name and date of birth just to confirm I got it right, and then I'm gonna see you want a glass of water or something. What's your first name?
Given that Cruz is just 19 and obviously a very troubled individual, police choose to send in the most easygoing and friendly detective they can, hoping that comforting him will be the best way to get him to open up.
Come on, Nick. Huh? Spell it for me. Okay. Again, man, unless you want me to sit in your lap because you're talking so quiet, you're gonna have to speak so I can hear you. Let's get a little closer to the table so me and you can communicate. What's your date of birth? Okay, you need to relax because I'm the last detective or policeman you're gonna have to talk to. So right off the bat, that should be somewhat comforting to you to know that I'm the last guy you got to talk to. But the thing about it is, look at me. I got to be able to hear you. So all I want to do is get basic information from you, and then we'll get into the, whether you want a glass of water, all that stuff.
Nikolas is trying to seem distant in his interactions with the detective. He speaks quietly and makes unnatural head movements in an effort to seem dazed. The detective, however, uses this as an excuse to get closer to Cruz, to subconsciously remind him that he's not in control. When a suspect is showing signs of insanity, there are two extreme routes they could take. Either they snap and act out against the detective, or completely shut down and refuse to respond. Because this is the first step of a long legal process, it's imperative that the detective prevents either of these outcomes from happening. Instead, he wants to keep him talking and obtain as much information as he can from Cruz before the suspect is able to come up with a more elaborate story.
Let me do this. You want cold water? It was hot out there. I know I'm going to get a cold water, so if I come back with a cold water,
I don't deserve it.
Again, I want you to understand, I'm the last guy you're going to have to talk to. What's happened has happened, but now me and you have got to kind of communicate so I can hear you. And again, I'm going to ask you, things about background and then, things about what happened.
Cruz decides to stay quiet, but the detective will continue to apply soft pressure to Cruz.
All right, I'll be right back.
Watch how, as soon as the detective leaves, Cruz immediately switches from one act to another. His muscles seem to lose tension slightly and his posture slips as soon as the door closes, implying he's much more comfortable without the detective's presence. But his demeanor changes again as soon as he's reminded of the second camera in the room. Before raising his arm to his head, his left arm twitches slightly and his head moves as though he was about to perform a certain action, but reconsidered after. This is a dead giveaway that these gestures are staged rather than being actual displays of his feelings. During these feigned acts of self-injury, let's also remember that just hours before this, Cruz had taken the lives of 17 other people without sustaining so much as a cut or a scratch. Many of these harrowing events end with the killer taking their own life afterwards, in an obvious display of what Cruz is trying so desperately to depict himself. But the sudden and constant nature of these acts does nothing but reinforce the fact that the only insane thing about Cruz is his belief that this will actually work.
Are you staying with a family member or a friend? Come on, you gotta relax, man. Because the questions I'm asking you right now are just your background questions. Okay? You know, I understand what we're gonna talk about is gonna be difficult, but you're the only one who can explain these things to me.
The detective returns later to ask some more basic questions, such as where he's staying and what his phone number is. He also learns that Cruz's mother died just 3 months before the attack. However, he continues to stay mostly silent. That is until just a few minutes later when this happens.
What kind of phone is it?
I don't know.
Okay, is it a flip top, an iPhone, a Samsung?
I can't remember, dude. I can't.
Okay, Nick. Calm down. You've already been medically cleared. I know what's going to be talked about is difficult, but again, you don't remember your phone number. How long you had the phone? Nick, the doctor's already looked at you.
Okay.
Okay, you're fine. You're not having any problems at the moment. So calm your breathing down. All right? And I want to believe certain things that you're going to tell me. But, you know, if we're getting to where you're going to hyperventilate over a phone number, all right?
All right.
So what's your phone number?
If Cruz was prone to panic attacks, you'd think that he'd have had one when he was arrested, when he was left alone for the first time in the interrogation room, or maybe just after he'd shot 17 people. But no, strangely, it's forgetting a phone number that set him off.
Starting from last night when you went to bed to this morning, did you do any kind of drugs at all? Any Xanax, any marijuana, anything like that? No. I always ask these questions because I don't know you, man. Crazy question. Where are you at right now? Do you know, are you in what kind of building you're in? Do you know what I do for a living? I'm a police detective. You know that?
No.
Okay, well, I'm a police detective.
Suddenly, Cruz is saying that he actually has no idea where he is or what's happening. While it may seem unlikely, we have to consider the possibility that Cruz actually doesn't know where he is right now. There have been many real cases in the past where schizophrenia and psychosis have been noted as a major part of why a murderer did what they did. Psychosis can cause major delusions where you completely believe in something impossible or obviously untrue, and it can also result in auditory and visual hallucinations, such as the voices that Cruz claimed to hear when he was arrested. It can even inhibit your ability to process new information and make you forget somewhat obvious things. However, there are two major arguments that prove it's unlikely this is what Cruz is experiencing himself. First of all, studies from as recently as 2022 show that while acts like this are often blamed on psychosis or mental illness generally, it played almost no role in 70% of cases, and a major role in just 11%. Schizophrenia is also noted as a severe, long-term condition, but Cruz was never observed to have any symptoms of it in the past, nor has he ever had any issues distinguishing his own thoughts from reality. So it's likely we can just write this off as another charade.
Just remember one thing as we go into this. There's certain things I know, and I don't want you to get, you know, to the point where you think I'm being hard on you, but schools in particular got cameras everywhere. So I can see what happened, but I can't know what happened from your point of view until you tell me. You want to keep saying to me, I don't deserve it. So to me, that means you have some form of remorse. So when you say I can't remember, for you not to believe you deserve it, you remember. You know what I'm saying?
For the next half hour, the conversation switches to more about Cruz's background, but the important thing is that he is actually consistently talking with a detective. At the start of the interrogation, he was refusing to talk at all, hitting himself in the face, and hyperventilating. Now he's answering questions and holding a conversation. The detective tries to take advantage of this by discussing the voices, remembering the idea from earlier to extract as many pieces of information as possible before he's fabricated a full story. Cruz tells him about his alleged experiences with the voices and states that they were what told him to buy the gun in the first place, so now it's time to pick it all apart.
Did the voice tell you to buy that AR-15?
Yes.
Did it tell you, hey, buy that gun, it looks cool? How many different kinds of guns did you look at before you decided to buy that gun? And was the voice helping you pick out the gun, or was it just you picking?
No, it was a voice.
How many times has the voice talked to you while we've been in the room here together?
A lot.
Has the voice said jump out of the chair and do anything bad to that policeman?
Saying killers. No.
I don't really believe there is a voice, to be honest with
There's a
you.
voice.
No, I don't think there is. I mean, I feel you probably want to kill you because of what happened, but...
No, the voice is telling me to kill my...
Okay, but the voice is telling you that the AR-15s is... You like guns, man. You want to be a ranger. You like guns. It's all right. There's cops like that. There's cops who got 50 million guns. You didn't buy guns because the voice said, hey, today I like Mossbergs, tomorrow I like AR-15s. You like guns.
Throughout the entire interrogation, there's barely been any sudden shifts in Cruz's body language. Generally, he's looked somewhat uncomfortable, but sat fairly still with his arms spread apart. However, as soon as the detective starts to express doubt that the voices are real, he shifts his entire body into a slump and crosses his hands in front of him. This exact positioning of his arms here is a classic tell that someone is feeling insecure and subconsciously feels the need to protect themselves. The grasping of his wrist also implies he's looking for something to hold on to and anchor himself with, as the entire basis of his story and reasoning is being ripped away in front of him.
I don't know. I can't figure it out either, because I don't think the demon exists.
I think.
I don't think it exists.
No, like...
Okay, now, you're just acting like that because...
No.
Okay, well, relax. You're just acting like that because I'm making sense. Calm down. I'm making sense, and you don't like when it makes sense.
No.
Because it doesn't fit into the story you're telling right now.
I'm telling you the story. It's just true. It's just,
well, why are you looking at your arm now?
I'm trying to understand why.
Well, why didn't you want to stop the demon?
I don't know.
Because I think you like the demon.
No, I don't.
Why did you stop it then?
I don't like the demon. I don't like the demon. I don't like the demon. I don't like the demon.
Well, that's if the demon even exists.
Can I get an attorney or something?
You want what? An attorney?
Yeah.
Did the demon or the voice just tell you to get an attorney? Okay. All right, well, you tell the voice that don't hit yourself in the head.
Whether it was the demons or Cruz himself, now that he's asked for a lawyer, the detective is legally not allowed to ask any more questions without them being present. At no point in this entire process was the question, did he do it, up for debate. He was caught on camera, named by other students, and essentially admitted to doing it in the interrogation. So he was quickly placed in solitary to await his trial. However, the insanity plea was technically still on the table as he hadn't yet been clinically examined. So a little later into the trial, he was met by a psychologist.
You've told me some different examples of things you've done to animals, different animals. When was the very first time you can remember ever doing something that people might look at and say that's not very kind to an animal?
Broke a lizard's back with a rock.
And how old were you?
3.
So
sometimes I skin him alive, sometimes I set him on fire.
The first person you shot, remind me what that was like and how you were able to, how you did that.
I thought they would scream.
Uh-huh.
It's more like they passed out.
Okay.
Passed out and blood just came out, pouring out of their head.
Okay.
It was really nasty and sad to see.
Do you remember who the last person you shot was? Okay. And describe to me what happened.
His head blew up like a water balloon.
And then there was a girl you mentioned yesterday that was...
She was on the stairwell. She was crawling. I shot her in the back.
Okay, and how come?
I told you I wanted kill as many people as I could and take my life.
Okay.
So that was the goal. So I shot her
Okay.
in the back. I think I shot her twice.
Cruz is obviously very uncomfortable while explaining the details of his actions, a complete contrast to both his original persona and what a truly insane person's reaction would be. But this isn't even the biggest giveaway the psychologist found. In a word-based memory recall test done off-camera, he said Cruz displayed memory impairment worse than a dementia patient, but also repeated words that weren't ever mentioned in the test, showing that he could remember the words if he chose to do so. The psychologist testified that Cruz was completely mentally sound, but was simply choosing to play with him, the detective, and everybody involved in the case up to that point. So, with the insanity plea off the table, Nikolas Cruz faced the full consequences for the 17 counts of premeditated murder and 17 other counts of attempted murder, and was given 34 consecutive life sentences amounting to over 1,000 years in prison. Only one juror decided against the death penalty.